right, let's talk homeschooling. This is going to be geared more towards homeschooling for beginners, but you veteran homeschoolers might get a thing or two out of this as well. Let's talk about how I got into homeschooling when I was not the greatest student ever, let alone ever had it on the radar for any of my children. Let's talk about daily routines. How long does it take me to homeschool? All of these things. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's get talking. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I'm very happy to have you. If you have been here before, hello again. I am Amber. I am the blogger behind 1898mama.com. I am a homeschooling, homesteading mom of 6 in South Dakota, and I have been homeschooling not completely from the beginning, but pretty close. My next couple of videos are going to be all about homeschooling, so if you are thinking about homeschooling or if you already are homeschooling, you are definitely going to want to subscribe because there's going to be a ton of information on it. Today I'm going to talk about kind of homeschooling and how to get started and all those things. But the next video is going to be my top 10 tips on homeschooling, so you're definitely going to want to catch that one. Okay, let's get into this. If you hear a bunch of noise, I've got a puppy and an old dog running around. It's very hot outside, so they're panting and they both need their claws trimmed, so you can just hear them walking on the floor, and I'm sorry if that's very distracting, because it's distracting me. So let's talk about homeschooling a little bit. I personally was a horrible student my entire educational career. Never got A's, never got B's, barely got C's. I was pretty much horrible. So how did I decide to start homeschooling? That's insane. When my oldest, who is now 10, just about 11, started to go to pre-K, I had hesitations. I did not want to do it at all. First day came, I hated sending her. And by the time Christmas break rolled around, I told my husband, I do not want to do this. I want her homeschooled. I hate sending her. He was actually completely against it. And so maybe I'll make another separate video on talking to your spouse about convincing them to homeschool, if we will. But long story short, he is now a firm believer in homeschooling and does not ever want our kids going to public school. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do you teach homeschooling if you don't know it? And you guys, this day and age, there's so many resources out there that you don't need to know all of these things. And I'm gonna be honest, I have learned so much more in the last 6 years of homeschooling than I did my entire educational career, K through 12. That does not say great things for the public school system. Now, granted, I was a horrible student, so God bless those teachers' hearts, because I could not have been fun to teach. But there is a very famous homeschooling quote going around saying something along the lines of, why are you questioning your ability to teach when you should be questioning why you want to send your kids to the school system that failed you? And that is a big one. So basically, the world that we live in now, we have the internet at our fingertips. I can Google something, I can look something up if I have any questions. With math, up until this point, I've pretty much remembered it all. But we use a program called Math You See. There's a DVD that comes along with it, teaches every lesson. I go through it with them. And that's how I plan to go through with high school. Now, with that, there is a little bit of difference. That does teach Common Core math, and I have chose to just tell my kids, I'm sorry, that's stupid. Here's an easy way to do it. Now, if you choose to teach your kids Common Core, totally fine, totally great. However, I don't see the benefit in it. I feel we're going off the trail here, but that's one of the benefits of homeschooling. I don't have to learn Common Core. I can teach my kids A to Z without going A to Z to C to P, and however it needs to go. Great benefit of homeschooling. Now, if you are considering homeschooling, or if homeschooling is something you're already doing but it's not going great, the biggest thing you can do to make your days go smooth is to come up with a daily routine. I am not saying 8 o'clock a.m. you start your math, 9 o'clock p.m. or 9 o'clock a.m. you start your history. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying a rhythm, a routine, just kind of how your day flows along. I'm gonna give you our daily routine right now, which is, it's June. So it is the middle of summer. Things are very, very relaxed. However, we are still doing some schooling. So I'm letting my kids sleep in. For my older kids, if I would let my daughter sleep in, she'd probably sleep in until 11. My son likes to wake up around 8 or 9. I will make my daughter wake up a little bit earlier than that because that's just too much for me. They have responsibilities around the house that need to get done, and if they don't do their responsibilities, it's kind of a chain effect and the whole day can just get ruined. So right now we're kind of waking up, very slow mornings, eat some breakfast, and then after breakfast, the older kids have their chores of dishes, wiping the table, sweeping the floor, that kind of stuff. And then after breakfast, we have chicken chores. We got to check the cows. We have to check the sheep. And as long as everything is where they're supposed to be, nobody has escaped, water's working, things like that. Right now, it's very easy to just go and check, do a big welfare check. If they're out, it can suck. If the fence is down, it can suck. But for most part, most days are very easy. Now after that, it's brush your teeth, brush your hair, you know, just general hygiene for the day. And then I let them kind of take a break. Now, what I had planned for the summer was they were gonna have to do 10 minutes of garden work every day. That has definitely gone to the wayside because we have done a lot of fence work, but that is gonna be back into the swing of things here within the next week or two probably. So then by about that point, it's usually lunchtime, and then it's meal chores again, and then it's nap time for the little kids. And then after nap time for the little kids, at that point I usually will say like, okay, like chill. And the older kids will usually do their math, their reading, and their language arts. I did buy a new language arts for them to do this summer because I had them do the CAT test and both of them were very behind in the language arts, so I'm just kind of doing an extra bump. And I have them do math and reading just because I feel that that's super important and I don't want them to lose any skills throughout the summer. So doing a page or two of math every day and reading a chapter of your book, not that hard, doesn't take that long. So then little kids wake up from their nap, and at that point it's play outside, play inside, play in the basement, whatever, and then get ready for dinner. Depending on if it's a baseball night or not, we might be eating at home, might not be. We might be going to practice, we might be going to games. And when my husband gets home, then it's usually four-wheeler rides, checking the cows. And then after that, it's pretty much time to get ready for bed, and we do it all again the next day. So as you can see, there's a lot of ifs and buts, and things can get totally derailed, but there is a certain rhythm that we do every day. And there is an insane amount of flies in here, so if you see something zoom by besides my hands, because I am a hand talker, a lot of flies in here. So another big thing that would make my days horrible if we didn't have it is nap times. Those little kids have got to get put down for a nap, because if they don't, by the end of the day, everybody's crabby, everybody's crying, and it just sucks. If you are homeschooling older kids and you have younger kids, such as me, sometimes the younger kids want to be involved in schoolwork, sometimes they don't. So I like to I'll just Google, like, I don't know, Daniel Tiger coloring page, and I usually find like a free coloring page, print those off, let them color. Or The Good and the Beautiful has sample pages of their younger curriculums, and I will just print off the sample pages, and it says like sample in light letters over it, but the kids still feel like they're doing schoolwork and they still feel like they're involved, so that's great, and it's free. If that doesn't work, food is always an option to keep them distracted. Otherwise, don't feel bad if you have to pull out the iPad. It's fine. Now, as far as early elementary and preschool, especially preschool, when I first started, I did My Father's World preschool. I did My Father's World kindergarten as kind of like the preschool curriculum. Now with my preschooler, none of that. She has a handwriting book, and I think it's Handwriting Without Tears, and then she has the Math You See. And besides that, it's just reading books, living life with your family, learning to do chores, that kind of stuff. It's very, very minimal, and she only does math and handwriting if she feels like it. Now, this girl will demolish math as much as she can, but I don't force her to do it. She only does it because she likes to. Her handwriting, on the other hand, she does like 1 page a week. And it's not a big deal to me because the rest of the 23 hours of the day, she writes all the time. She'll ask me how to spell something. You know, it's just random stuff throughout the day that she likes to write. I'm not going to force her to make the perfect letters on the perfect dotted line. That is just not a big deal to me. As long as when they're older, it is a little eligible. No, it is legible, not eligible. Preschool is very, very minimal, and it's really, really tough to remember that, especially if you were just first starting, because you get really excited and you want to buy the curriculums and you want to do the things, but it's just not necessary. Now, early elementary, I would also say, is very low maintenance. Now you're starting to add in a little bit more and you are trying to start to make them do things, but it's still very low maintenance. And if I could go back, like, I would not have ever done a science curriculum with my kids because we are homesteaders. It's literally science all day long. We do Generation Genius. I will link them down below. Kids love Generation Genius. So that is a perfect elementary science curriculum. Absolutely perfect. We've done things from The Good and the Beautiful. We've done things from Sunlight. And I think that's about it as far as like science curriculums that we've done. But I don't think I'm going to worry about an actual science curriculum again until maybe like 7th or 8th grade. Okay, so what about homeschool co-ops? If you have homeschool co-ops around you, I definitely think that you should reach out and check them out. I've got 1 30 minutes from me that way and 1 30 minutes from me that way. One of them is a CC, and we have chosen not to do that just because of the curriculum that they do, and that's just a lot for me personally. I like to keep things a little bit more easygoing, a little more low maintenance, which you are going to find funny when I tell you which curriculum I love. And then the other one we loved for a few years, but it has just gotten so giant that it's not fun anymore. But we've built great homeschool relationships. Unfortunately, when you live in the middle of nowhere, it's really tough to see the homeschool community a lot. So when you're a part of a homeschool co-op like that, meeting every Friday or every other Friday or whenever at a certain time, it really holds you accountable to putting yourself in that community. So that's nice. Now that we're not a part of the homeschool co-op, I do have to kind of be aware that now in the summer, not a big deal, but come this winter, I am going to have to be aware, like, okay, my kids have probably got to get out and maybe hang out with some other homeschool kids. How long does homeschooling take me? Now, this kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. I'm going to talk about like the most that I do at once, and that is usually like, we'll say September, October to February, March, with a break for Christmas in between. Now, okay, so the curriculum that I have gone back to and we are currently using is Sunlight curriculum. There is a lot of reading in that, you guys, a lot of reading. But I think that's okay because we can break it up throughout the day, which is very important to me with a lot of little kids. So what we have done lately just to get our reading in is after the little kids go to bed, lay down in my bed or on the couch, and at nighttime read our chapter books or our readers at nighttime before we go to bed. And then my kids really like to like knock out their schoolwork right away in the morning. Now, if it was up to me, they would be doing it between the hours of 1 and 3 when the little kids are asleep, but they don't like to do that. They want to get it done right away. So some days the little kids allow me to be right there and help the big kids when they need help, and those are great days. Other days, I have to tell my big kids, hey, sorry, if you can't do this on your own and you need my help, you're going to have to wait because I can't do this when I have one toddler screaming at me here, I'm nursing a baby, I've got the other toddler, you know, trying to dump something in the toilet or something. So, unfortunately, when you do have a lot of kids, the kids have to be told no or they have to be told to wait, which is a good thing and a bad thing, you know. But that's also one of the wonderful things about homeschooling is that you don't have to get it all done at a certain time. Like, at a public school, if I was a teacher, at 10 o'clock we have history class and it has to get done. And if I have one kid in that history class that's being a disruption, that kind of screws everything up. Like I can't come back later, right? At homeschooling, with homeschooling, you can homeschool at 9 o'clock at night. Not a big deal. It's fine. However, total, I would say between a 5th grader, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner. Just about to be, no, she'll be 1st grader. And then a preschooler. I spend maybe a total of 4 hours, 5 hours maybe if it's a really bad day. So it's not very much, and it's not all at once. It's definitely broken down into pieces. Some days are more, some days are less. It's very much kind of dependent on you too. Like we don't do, I bought the science curriculum for Sunlight and I decided, screw it, we're just gonna read the books as we feel like it. And I did buy the language arts, which I started and then decided against that as well, and I've chosen a different one. I cannot remember what language arts I chose. It was actually recommended to me from a homeschool co-op family, so I will figure out what it is and I will link it down below because so far it's very nice. It's very independent for the kids and I feel like they're finally getting it. So busy hours, at most 5 hours a day for kids. Right now, less than 1 hour a day, maybe even less than a half an hour a day in the summer. Now that's for actual homeschool stuff. Now if you take into life, I mean, we are taking care of livestock, we are gardening, we are preserving our food, we are learning how to cook that food, we are cleaning, we are living with a variety of different people. For instance, just yesterday we had to save 2 baby chicks. One of them ended up dying, one of them lived. There is so much that goes on with the way our lifestyle is that I do not feel bad if we are not doing our schoolwork every day because we live the lifestyle that we live. Now, if you're going to be somebody who's going to sit on the couch and watch TV all day, yeah, you might want to do a little bit more. Now, in order to be successful in homeschooling, there's a few things that I want to kind of get off my plate and kind of say, hey, disclaimer. I personally think about sending my kids to public school every year. I'm not going to lie. This is the hardest job ever. I have heard that motherhood will bring out your greatest weaknesses. Homeschooling just gives you so many more opportunities to show those weaknesses. You're literally with your kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there's a lot of struggles. Every single year I threaten to send my kids to public school. Every single year I think about it. Will I ever do it? I don't want to say no because I don't know what the future holds, but no, I really do enjoy homeschooling. It is just really tough. You may have heard of different styles of homeschooling. And when I first started homeschooling, I was recommended to check out the book 101 Top Homeschool Picks by Kathy Duffy. That book has basically a little quiz in it to help you figure out what your homeschool style is. And I definitely recommend you do that if you want to homeschool. Because it showed me, I can't even remember what I was then, but now I would call me a mix of Charlotte Mason / unit studies / unschooling. Just very kind of all over the board, honestly. I like to take a little bit of everything for the most part. Now, you might be completely Montessori. You might be completely unschool. Every family is different, and that's just what makes it great. I hope these little tidbits helped you figure out what you want to do on your homeschool journey. If it helped you decide, yes, I'm going to homeschool. If it helped you decide, no, I'm not going to homeschool. Maybe you are homeschooling now, and you're like me and have been in a struggling season where you're like, maybe it's time to send my kids to public school. Just remember, every family is going to have good days. Every family is going to have bad days. And it does take a little time to figure out what works for you. I mean, I've been at this 6 years now, and it changes every season, every weather season, every season of life, whether we have a newborn, whether we don't have a newborn, whether I'm pregnant, whether it's first trimester, whether it's second trimester. Things are constantly changing. but you have to be adaptable and it will work out for you. You just have to kind of remember your why and know in the long run it's totally worth it. If you want some more, my next video is all about my top 10 homeschooling tips for beginners, so check out that video. I will link it down below. If you like this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe.